Hello everyone, welcome to a 1-Up 3D No Man's Sky Beyond speculation video. I did one of these on a potential for an NPC overhaul. Sorry, I had to cough there. And I got a comment on that from a guy named, I don't know if it was a guy, but someone named PLO 670 or something like that. It was one of my only comments, but they said that an NPC overhaul is their second most wished for thing, essentially, next to a space overhaul, which got me thinking about what I'd like to see in a space overhaul. There's a lot to talk about there, so I thought I'd do a video on that. And really, a space overhaul is possible. Maybe not even a space overhaul, but an addition of things. After all, the NPCs were seen walking on a space station, and space stations are in space, and the name of the update is Beyond, which has implications of space, so I think it's worth talking about. And my first thought when it comes to space is that there's not much to do there. Most of this game is gathering resources, and there's not that many resources in space that you want or need. So, one solution would be to add more resources. And you could do that by adding the landable asteroids, like was suggested, one of those unfulfilled promises. I wouldn't say that was a promise, but it was mentioned. And I would also add like nebulas, where there's like floating crystals of condensed carbon or condensed gases. I think that would be cool. And then potentially like something that could harm you in there, like there's lightning storms or something like that. That'd be cool. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, and I talked about this in the NPC overhaul video, some of this is going to overlap with it, but it's about the freighter/frigate missions. Not necessarily just the missions, but it's kind of a two-tiered thing that I would like to see. First off, a crew on the frigates. And then second is, instead of these... So I don't know if you ever played like browser-based real-time space strategy games back in the day, where it would be like, build this mining colony on this planet. It'll take in real time like 10 hours or something, like stuff like that, and then you gather resources in real time. I think there's still mobile games that are like that, but I look at those logs from those missions, and they seem more eventful than what we did in game sometimes. So I would just like to see, maybe being able to go on those missions. You land on your freighter, your lead freighter, and you go on them. Because sometimes in No Man's Sky, you don't feel like you have that much to do. You're kind of at a standstill, and it'd be just nice to have some guidance or someone to tell you, let's go do this. So what that would look like is essentially going and doing those things. Like if it's a combat mission, you go into those systems and you go into a series of battles. And I would like to see if like your combat ships gets boarded, you have to fight them off there, or there's ships flying around, you jump on a turret on your combat ship and you shoot them down. Like not just flying on your ship, like you have that option too. But you can jump on your ship and go do that, and they could get onto one of your other frigates on your, on the mission with you. And then mining ones, you could be sent to places where there are unmapped advanced minerals or something like that. Like there's lemon or Hyrox or something. Like there's a deposit of it, and you're able to mine that you're able to find that because you're a mining vessel, or there's an asteroid or something that it targets. Like, maybe they need to put lumps of rare, like asteroids of rare resources that are rare in that system, but they're there, and only your mining vessel can target them. And you go and mine them, and then you get all of that material, and it's a huge profit, or you get a ton of something that's very useful. And then trade missions, you can essentially do your big, trade hauls with those merchant vessels instead of just your hauler. Like, those missions that you send them on, sometimes those trade missions, their profits that they get, you can do better just on your own. So that's kind of weird. But yeah, you could go and it can take you to systems, and you buy a bunch of stuff, and it does that for you. Like, those would be the most boring. And then there'd be exploration missions where essentially it tags stuff on the planet, like the mining idea, where those things don't normally get tagged by any other scanners. Like, they would still exist there. You could randomly find them, but doing these missions will find them. They could be heavily story involved or have high rewards. And that would be a huge it would provide things to do. It would increase exploration. It would take you to systems you might not have chosen to do, but there's something on there that you wouldn't otherwise know about. And then, what other missions are there? There's Balanced, which would be a mix of all those. It would probably be the most eventful. Of course, these wouldn't take like 20 hours. Maybe they would take, multiple play sessions to finish one of them. But they would also be highly rewarding. You would want to increase the reward so that you can just make more while doing other stuff. And then you would also be interacting with that crew to some extent, and it'd make the world feel a bit more alive. It would make it feel like you weren't just some random guy wandering about, even though you can call up and have your space fleet up there, and you technically, like, right now you don't see the NPCs on your frigates, but if you have a full fleet of frigates, you've got like hundreds of employees, and you never see them, and you're still wandering around planets like you're this solo traveler in space. It's kind of silly, and I mean, you could still play that way. You just don't have to engage in any of that if you want the original idea. But the second thing is, because it is nice having those passive, real-time things, I would have those do things in system that are less eventful. Like telling your mining vessel to go mine, and then it collects a bunch of, the available items in space. So it's collecting your tritium for you, so you can go do those missions. Because right now it's boring to go get tritium. You either trade it for it, or you go shoot up a bunch of asteroids, and it's kind of boring. And your exploration vessel, while it does find things for you now when you go on it, it would find points of interest within that system over time. So it's finding more things for you instead of you running around putting up signal boosters, which I just don't end up doing. And sure, you would have to give it navigation data to do it. And your supply vessels could ferry supplies to you, stuff like that. And so back to the missions. I forgot to bring this up, but instead of all of a sudden, your frigate got damaged, it's got to come back, you would be on the mission with it. You would repair it with resources there, or instead of having to just constantly repair it with resources that you just grind, because I don't know why they think that would be all that exciting. Instead, you go and you fight off the things that took over the vessel. Or, you know, like if it's creatures that were in the cargo hold and did something. Now you go and you fight them on the frigate, which I think fighting on those frigates would be a lot of fun. You know? And I feel like that could be more fun. It's something that's happening while you're on that mission. It's a hurdle on while you're on the mission that you have to overcome. It's a random event. You don't know if it's going to happen, and you have to deal with it. Sounds like a lot more fun to me. But yeah, I don't care so much about like the, let's call them, what would you call them? Well, the things like realistic planet rotation and stuff like that. That stuff isn't very interesting to me. I'm not trying to, you know, diss on anyone who thinks that stuff's cool, but I don't find that interesting. That wouldn't motivate me at all. I think the skybox and the day-night system they have on the planets works well enough for me. It's wouldn't add anything for me if they did it differently. So that's just my perspective on that. I get some people are really into that thing, but I'm more interested in gameplay improvements. But yeah, those are my thoughts on a space overhaul. Let me know if there's anything you thought of, anything that I'm missing. Oh, and you know, customizable spaceships, building parts. That's going to be something I do in a video at one point. I feel like the modules should be things you craft and are more like an alchemy type thing like you'd find in a fantasy game. That way they're always unique to some extent, and you get better at making them, maybe. You know, just something like that. But you know, yeah, there's all kinds of things related to different types of gameplay that they can implement that would make things way cooler. But we won't get into those now. But yeah, that's all I got for you today. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want. Tell me what you think. Tell me I'm dumb. Whatever you want. Go for it.